Good evening. We start our program, weekly analytical program, Defacto Review with me, Jargal. We will today highlight 3 topics of events happened last week in the country that may shape the way we live in Mongolia. Topic number 1, guaranteed minimum pension. Benefit will be 500,000 MNT monthly. The president begins his campaign 2021. Second topic, the Great Jargal begins discussions on 2021 budget and monetary policy. Mongolia's foreign and domestic debts keep growing. Third topic, the Judicial General Council of Mongolia calls press conference. Corruption keeps growing in Mongolia. Let's start our first topic. Guaranteed minimum pension is to be increased to 500,000 MNT per month, according to the president. Mongolian president had been visiting several Aimak provinces in Mongolia for last a month or so. And in Bodrung Aimak, when he was meeting the voters, he said that he is going to initiate a new law making a minimum pension benefit to 500,000 MNT per month. The same promise he made just on the eve of the new year last year, the end of the last year, and he had made zero or stopped the loan payment of many people who have a retirement fee in Mongolia. Today, minimum pension benefit in Mongolia is 350,000 MNT per month. And total 417,000 people are of the age of pension by law, but however 317,000 people receive pension benefits. This means every 1 in 10 person in Mongolia gets pension benefits. However, the money, even after 500,000 MNT per month, is not guarantee of minimal requirement for living in the country. That shows how much deficiencies we have with the pension system in Mongolia. Of course, in order to have minimum level be decent for living normal life, first of all, we should grow the economy. And then it will be healthy growth, and this money will be fully pay the benefit they're looking for. Political promises like this creates usually inflation, because it creates more demand in goods, and when the salary of other people are not increased, it may increase the total inflation rate. Additional to that, Mongolian pension fund has been always with a loss. Just loss, and it was compensated or subsidized by the budget. In just 2019, last year, the budget had paid 600 billion tugriks as subsidies to this pension fund. So it's a matter of, first of all, the structure of the pension fund in the country, which must be free or independent out of budget. Unfortunately, it is not the case. And plus, pension fund is the only and largest pool of money in the country used for investment. So it is a matter of having a capital market developed or not in any given country. What kind of problems we do face? And what are the reasons we have such situation with the pension fund? Pension fund today is a part of budget, and that part is always with loss. In 2018 alone, this pension fund had 1.6 trillion MNT expenses, at the same time when it was 1.1 trillion MNT income. So that's the difference. Why? As I said, it's a structure issue, and it's accumulation and contribution dislink matter. This dislink is a matter of interest for politicians. Originally, it is with the budget because during the socialist time, when everything was planned, centrally planned economy, it is started. And during the transition from that economy to market economy, it's the only fund that is not being changing its nature. And also it is in the interest of politicians. That's the reason why they are not changing the status of this fund. Why? Because the pensioners, how we call it, are the very strong impact group on election themselves, and through their children they may impact on the way how election comes, with which result it comes. And this link is also connected with, as I said, with the system itself. From 1995 to 2006, the pension fee was 19%. But in 2008, they changed it to 14%, which caused substantial decrease in the income of this fund. Another reform was in 2012, where this the pension payment fee was rule of that fee is changed. How? In 1990 to 1995, those people who have not paid pension fee, they are regarded as they have been paid. So, in 95-2000, these 5 years, those people who have not paid, they have been regarded or they have paid at the course of that particular year, which caused substantial, lack of revenue in this fund. So in general, those people who they have paid total 38 billion fee paid, but they got 700 billion pension benefit so far. So the question raises, what shall we do with the pension fund in the future? The majority of the population is the young people today. And however, per young people, the amount of pensioners for one working young person keep increasing. If it goes in such a way, it's going to be a big problem in Mongolia. There is certain initiative group by the parliamentarians who are now working on making pension reform soon, and mostly allowing private pension fund in Mongolia. So what kind of reforms we need in Mongolia? Pension reform is necessary now. We must do it. Those issues I just raised show that we must do it immediately. But we need to pay certain attention to several issues. Let's take Poland as example. Poland, they have started this pension reform in 1999, quite early, 21 years ago. They have a multi-tier system and allowing private and public pension funds, and also so-called defined contribution system. Tier 1, those who are above 50 will be receiving their pension benefits from the state, like in Mongolia today. Tier 2 people, this is a private pension fund people or defined contribution system. Under 30 years old, everybody must be a part of it. Those people who are in between 30 and 50 years old, they have a chance to two options. They pay 19.5% from salary a month to these two funds, 12.2% to the state fund, 7.3% goes to the private fund. After this proposal, 60% of the receivers have shifted, 60% of them shift to the system. The third tier is voluntarily coming to any of this fund. However, this reform costed a lot of money. total in between 1999 and 2012, that transfer or reform costed money that is equivalent of 14.4% of GDP of Poland. And plus, because there was a big deficit, which was financed by the foreign debt, and that total amount was 6.8% of GDP. So quite big number. So originally they have been planning to cover the cost from the privatization of state-owned enterprises, which 100% have not been done. And that's why they had to borrow a huge amount of money. So this is a lessons for Mongolians to learn. In general, it is not that easy to have all things from mandatory to voluntary or voluntary to mandatory. Mongolia needs, of course, to reform the pension system, but looks like it should be done very slowly, not that quick, based on the Poland lessons. Those people who had not paid a fee for insurance, they should not receive pension from pension fund. Those are regarded who had not paid, regarded as a people who must be taken care of, and those pensions must be paid from the social care fund. So that's what Mongolia needs. And another lesson we have learned so far is you cannot politically motivate it to increase that pension fund payment. And again, it will cause more budget deficit, and we are like Poland, we are borrowing again and again. Our next topic is about the Great Khural of Mongolian Parliament's name. Begins discussions on 2021 budget and monetary policy. As many countries, Mongolian Parliament has to adopt a budget for next year by the mid of November every year. That's why they start discussions now a month earlier. Main issue is, of course, what kind of revenue and expense will be from the budget, and how does it connect it with the monetary policy of the country. At least it says that the inflation rate will be not more than 6% till 2023. So including this year, next 4 years, we going to have a way lower inflation than we used to have. And it also says in the budget, in the policy, that they will have increased the transparency and responsibility of the central bank and its functioning of monitoring and coordinating Mongolian commercial banks. Yeah, this is a very traditional provision every year comes, but in reality we need a lot to do in this field. Every time budget is done with very optimal approach, and every time we don't reach that level. When they make the tax revenue very optimal, they plan big expenses like they do it this year again. And GDP, Mongolia is going to be 42 trillion MNT, and the actual growth will be 7.2%. And export, as they plan, will be increased to 7.9, almost 8 billion US dollar, which is 30% growth year-on-year base. And again, they are planning again very optimistically increase the coal export. Coal is almost half of Mongolian export, and just in the case of coal, they say they will export 42 million tons of coal this year again. This level of 42 comes the third years in a row, but never we have reached that level. The highest level we have reached was in 2019, where we have exported 36 million tons of coking coal to China. This year, initially it was quite down due to COVID, but the maximum probably it will reach only 25 million tons this year. Mongol Bank had decreased substantially the policy rate from 10% to 7% by a whole 3%, which never happened before. And they have also restructured the loan classification in the country, and 3.8 trillion MNT worth business loan have been changing its structure. Well, in other words, they're going to pay payment of postponed for another 6 months or so. The same happened with the consumers and mortgage loan in the country, and some 728 billion mortgage consumer loan for 82,000 consumers, and 2 trillion MNT loan for 38,000 consumers have been payment was postponed for 6 months. They're going to pay 6 months later, which was a substantial help during the COVID. So why all this is happening? Because of course COVID-19, which impact on the way how the world economy works. 5% contraction is expected worldwide. GDP, Mongolia have witnessed, our economy witnessed 9.7% contraction for first half of the year. And this year it will be regained, and the total contraction will be only 3%, according to ADB. And many of this, substantial part of it was because the mining export delay. In terms of exchange rate of Mongolian tugriks to US dollar, 4.4% weakening. It was at the beginning of the year 2034 MNT for $1. Now it is 28.53 MNT for $1. Many reasons, as I said, decrease of export for 40 to 50% for certain goods. And we have a payment deficit now, 600 million US dollar, which of course brings more load on reserve of the country, which is at the level of 3.6 billion US dollar as we speak of. Budget deficit is expected to be 12.5% of the GDP, which is quite higher compared with the normal economy. And we have a problem with the payment or repayment of a loan. So question comes, why is it happening if the policy rate of the central bank keep down that substantially? And if they have restructured several loan, why the bank are not giving any more bigger loan? Two reasons. One is not substantial amount of equity capital. The second, risk of many loan risk keeps increasing due to also outside factors. Total loan portfolio have contracted 3% year-on-year base, and consumer loan even 10%. That's why the total portfolio of loan have decreased in the country. Well, what are those reasons and what we can do? First, of course, it's COVID-19. Everybody is uncertain now. Good news, IMF, the World Bank Annual Conference, as we speak of, saying that the world GDP will be 4% minus this year. It will be decreasing. And yet China will be increasing, developing for 1.9% this year, and next year they expected 8%, which is a quite usual song, like I said before, which is good for Mongolian export. We supply a lot. We were almost number one or number two coking coal supply to China, for example. This is good news for Mongolian export, as we supply substantial part of coking coal to China, copper, coal, etc. The parliamentarians say in the draft of budget that the budget deficit will be next year 5% instead of 12.5% expected this year. Mongolia have been always subsidizing our budget with foreign aid, and this year recently we got 240 million US dollar from Japan loan, development loan. Mongol Bank is going to make a new product, a repo. They will be making package of good loans, but not mining loans. into their repo products for 2 years, and in this way, banks will have more cash. We need to increase our currency reserve, foreign currency reserve. We, as I said, $3.6 billion this year. We keep buying gold. Last year it was 15 tons. This year Mongol Bank is expecting to buy gold for 20 tons of gold. However, Mongolia keeps paying debt with foreign debt, bond with new bond. Recent example is the Nomad bond. Total Mongolian debt is $30.7 billion out of which 7.3 billion belongs to the government. And it was recently just 7 billion. So you see, keep increasing the foreign debt. So the key issue for strengthening the health of banking sector is international increase of own equity capital of commercial banks by international standard, which is a question because IMF program had put that conditions and we have not yet received clear report whether Mongolian commercial banks have done it or no. So that's what we are expecting. So these are shortly about on our second topic. Our third topic tonight is the Judicial General Council calling press conference. However, corruption keeps growing in Mongolia. Last Tuesday, October 13th, the Judicial General Council have organized press conference called Open Judiciary. The public relation officer of this related department, Ms. Binderia, had given to the public information about the third quarter, the criminal cases and it is solutions by the third quarter of 2020. According to this report, some 500,000 Mongolians have been receiving judicial services to renew their rights, according to that speaker. And by the end of the third quarter, 10,701 person and 3 judicial entity have been held responsible in front of legal system of the country. Another good news that the public was expecting very long. First time now, Mongolians can watch court trials on time and live. They have a website, live.shuh.mn, which is working for the last 3 months. That's good news. New prosecutor looks like had given order to make faster the process of trials for those criminal cases which was sent from anti-corruption agency to prosecutor, to trial. 70% of corruption in the country has to do with misuse of power by public officer. And such crimes by this first 9 months, 30 of them have been solved. That is 2.5 times more than before. Out of even few hundreds of criminal cases sent by anti-corruption agency, only a few were sent to court before. 10% of total general corruption in Mongolia is bribes taking, and another 10% is bribe receiving. One is taking, one is giving. Also not 10%, 12 criminal cases have been solved at the courts. Another one, some remaining part of the crimes, around also 8 to 9%, is a budget money misuse through tender and other systems. Only 4 criminal cases have gone through the courts. In Mongolia, we have a problem also with very clear names and definitions of particular words or particular names. For example, corruption. Corruption is defined in our law, anti-corruption law, and that is about defining the corruption as to misuse positions, public positions, authority given to a person for own purposes, for own benefits, or to give advantage to the third person, etc. That's the definition of corruption, which is given. The more important thing is it is one is by anti-corruption law. The other, for example, bribes are defined in regulations of the Supreme Court, for example. Bribes given or taken money, or material and non-material wealth, or ownership of those wealth, and giving paid or not paid discounts for the job they are supposed to do. For example, another definition of nepotism, or favorism, or cronism, or kickback, fraud. These words to be defined once and forever in the same way in our laws and regulations, which is not the case today. So our lawyers are working to make clear this definition, and that definition also to meet international standard. So because our many laws are interconnected with international laws and regulations, and plus in terms of penalty, people not happy, because in many cases the damage of billions tugriks are only got penalty for a few million tugriks, which people regard almost as a war. So, but for example, bribe taking and giving issue. What if the person is giving, which is always happening now, to solve his problem faster due to bureaucracy resistant? Then he is becoming criminal. And plus those bribe taking and bribe receiving have the same penalty. Is it justice or not? That's the question among the population. You know, fighting with corruption is always a good promises of politicians, but it is never have been made substantially. Why? Because the cause of corruption in Mongolian public offices are financing of political parties. And nobody knows except the head of the political parties, a few his people close to him, know exact the amount of their party financing, income or expenses. The politicians are most benefiting from the corruption, people are the victims of corruption. The political party financing, for example, is being included into the agenda of each sessions of the parliament for last 10 years, and nothing is changing. And now, this time we are expecting change, because recently there was a change in our amendments in our constitutions, which automatically makes them to adjust some laws to that constitutions. For example, party membership, party financing, etc. There's a new clauses in the constitutions. Because corruption is not penalized or punished while the government is existing, the public offices are working. One may be corrupt official sitting in prison, then 10 other corrupt officials are being prepared for next level of corruption. That's all for today. These are 3 topics. Thank you very much. See you next time at this time.